Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you live online from our Thursday morning Rabbi Wolbe on Chumash, the teachings of my grandfather, Rabbi Wolbe, and it is a huge honor to be here, especially today when it's the last 3 hours and 18 minutes of our matching funds campaign. So encouraging all of our friends to go to givetorch.com. And every dollar you contribute is quadrupled. We have generous matchers who are helping us, and it's the only day of the year that we fundraise, and we're grateful to all of your support. In this week's Parsha, we talk about the offerings, some of the offerings that were brought, and it's very interesting that the rules of when certain sacrifices can be eaten, by whom can they be eaten, where can they be eaten, is very, very, very particular. And as we learned in our Breakneck Through the Bible class on Tuesday night, there's a very interesting phrase that's said about someone who does not fulfill their obligation of either eating it at the right time, or if they transgress and eat it at the wrong time, then there's a terrible punishment. What's the punishment that is said about them?
There's such a thing as eating at the right time.
Well, no. There's certain offerings that needed to be eaten only at night till the next morning. Next morning they had to burn it. Would be burned. So you have many rules and regulations. Now, one of the punishments that it says is v'nichrita hanefesh ahi me'amea. And it's called, in Hebrew, we call it karet. But what does karet mean? And we went through explaining that karet is a cutting off of oneself from, it's a spiritual excision, where someone is cutting themselves off from their roots, from their connection. So now, there are many different opinions what it means. It means either an early death, or their children will die before them. There's many different explanations to what this punishment is of karet.
How do you spell that word, karet?
Kaf, Reish, Taf. Yeah, Kaf, Reish, Taf. But either way, one thing we know for sure, and that is that it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for someone to be, given this punishment, and it's only God can give this punishment. It's not a punishment that any bet din, a Jewish court can't give this punishment. The question is, what is really this cutting yourself off that it says v'nichrita hanefesh ahi me'amea? This soul, this person will be cut off from the people.
Is that a cherem?
No,
it's not a
cherem. Again, it's not something that can be influenced by us as human beings. It's something that's influenced by God. It's a punishment that's given by God. So I think like this. I would like to share an idea. It's okay. Let's take an example of a battery. Right? So you have a battery. What happens if that battery, gets depleted, no more power? What happens? It doesn't work anymore. You might as well throw it out. So I think like this. Our bodies work with a spiritual battery pack. Every mitzvah that we do infuses that battery pack with energy. And every sin that we do diminishes the power of that energy in that battery. But there are certain commandments that God tells us in the Torah that by committing this sin, it depletes it. It completely depletes all of the energy that's in there. It removes everything. So by definition, by doing this sin, what is a mitzvah? A mitzvah is something that brings us closer to Hashem. What is a sin? A sin is something that distances us from Hashem. So if a person does a mitzvah, they're bringing their relationship with God to be so much closer. If someone does a sin, they're separating themselves, they're disconnecting themselves from the Almighty. But there are certain commandments that if we transgress them, our sages tell us, you're cutting yourself off. No more lifeline. You're cutting yourself off. And this is one of them. It says, for example, about Shabbos is one of them. It says it's an amazing thing in our blessings that we say on Shabbat, in the Lecha Dodi, in the prayers that we say. It says, "Ki hi mikor habracha." It is the source of all blessing. So when we don't keep that Shabbos close to us, what we're doing is we're cutting ourselves off from the source of all blessing. Right? So we influence our own lives by how we have that relationship with God. The more we have invested in that relationship, it's like, we mentioned Pesach time. I think I mentioned this last week. I know for sure in a different class we talked about it, about in the Dayenu, that we say, if God had only brought us to Mount Sinai but didn't give us the Torah, it would have been enough. What do you mean? Why bring us to Mount Sinai if not give us the Torah? And we discussed that just like whenever you travel, you go back home, what do you do when you come back home? You have a souvenir. You have a mug, you have a photograph, right? A picture, right? You have a video, you have a something to memorialize this event so that you can always recall it. The Jewish people didn't go to Mount Sinai to get a Torah. The Jewish people went to Mount Sinai to get a relationship. Right? It's like the most important part of engagement is not a ring that the woman gets. That's not the most important part, although some people may think so, right? Mistakenly. That's not the most important part. The most important part is that now there's a commitment. The ring only memorializes this commitment. So when we look at the ring, we say, "Oh, wow! I know that when girls get engaged, they start driving with their left hand, so now their ring can start sparkling, right? Right? Yeah, for sure, right? But the idea is it's not about the ring, So it's not about the ring. It's all about the relationship. The ring just represents the relationship. The mitzvahs, it's not about the mitzvahs. It's not about the mitzvahs. But the mitzvahs are indicative of the relationship. And the more mitzvahs a person crowns himself with, the more that relationship is alive, the more that relationship is enriched. So every mitzvah that we do is a souvenir. God gave us 613 opportunities, souvenirs, to refresh that relationship, to reignite what was already clear to us on Mount Sinai. There was never a revelation. There was never a clarity in the world like the experience the Jewish people had at Mount Sinai. So every mitzvah that we do brings back that freshness, brings back that reality, brings back that connection. And the sin, God forbid, distances us. It pushes away that relationship. It's sort of a rebellion in a relationship of two human beings, right? They take off their ring, it already means something, it's saying something, right? There's certain things that we do in a personal relationship, or should never be done in a personal relationship, that indicate a distance. Our observance of mitzvahs indicates where we stand. Where are we? Look at how passionate you are for the mitzvahs. Look at how you observe the mitzvahs. That is the barometer by which a person can tell for themselves. Nobody else can tell you for you. Oh, if you did it like this, if you did it like that, then you'd be a good Jew. God forbid. No one can ever say this because no one knows where we're coming from and no one knows where we're going to. Every person has a different point A and a different point B. And our job is not to all be at the same place, but our job is to never stop growing. Our job is to never stop pursuing, reaching our destination. And never to sell ourselves short.
Destination or potential or both?
Destination of our own personal growth. Every person has their own growth. For one person, it could be, to never eat shellfish again. For one person, it could be to start keeping Shabbat. For one person, it could be for committing to put on tefillin. I always tell people, tefillin is the easiest mitzvah in the world. It takes exactly 3 minutes. You put it on, say the Shema, and take it off. Right? It's not a difficult thing. Who doesn't have 3 minutes for God? Right? 3 minutes. He gives us 24 hours. We can give him 3 minutes. It's a simple mitzvah. Lighting Shabbos candles. Very simple mitzvah. But it's just getting it into our routine to make that commitment. I'm going to do it. And what we see immediately after making that commitment is already that relationship starts growing. And that's what we're looking for. All of what we're searching in life is pleasure. Every human being. What we're searching in life is pleasure. The ultimate pleasure is the connection with God. Because you have no fear, you have no worry, you have no concerns, you have no stress, you have nothing. Everything is taken care of because you know you got your big daddy taking care of you. Who's the big daddy? The Almighty. He's taking care of you. He's looking after you, giving you everything you need. He gives you air to breathe. He gives you clothes. He gives you food. He gives you, he gives you health. He gives you everything. So it's up to us how much we connect ourselves with the Almighty. How much we bring ourselves towards that relationship. So, with that, my friends, we are going to sign off from the online program. You're welcome to come here at the Torch Center every single Thursday at 9:30. Be here or be nowhere. Have a great day, everybody, and a good Shabbos to all of you. If we don't see you tomorrow at the Talmud Lunch and Learn, that's going to be here at 12 o'clock.